Right, and we are live. Good evening, good morning, good day, good afternoon, whatever it may be at your time zone. Regardless of that, please know that you are welcome to our show, the World Sports Chiropractic Chat Show, here on FICS YouTube channel. My name is Mika. I'm your host again today, as every other day, as it turns out to be. But today I have a special privilege to be chatting with a real absolute legend of sports chiropractic, Dr. Alan Sokoloff from America. How are you doing? How are you doing, Alan?
I am wonderful, and the fact that I'm sharing my holiday with you makes it even more special.
Absolutely. And listen, you know what? This is something I have to mention. The dedication of this gentleman here. He's taken time from his holiday. You're somewhere very pleasant on a lake, doing water sport and that, and then you find yourself middle of the afternoon sitting down to have a chat with me about about work. Goodness
Right.
me.
Well, to me, it's not work, and I'm also sharing my family with you because you never know what's going to come through that door. So at any moment, everything can go in a real different direction. But we're here for you. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, amazing. Yeah, good. But hey, listen, you know what? Let's first we'll throw the screen share on. We'll get the little bio sheet up here. We'll see what kind of things we've got going on. So obviously it looks like we've got so you qualified University of Maryland and Palmer College, and there you go. But you are very much interested and involved with NFL football, professional football, American football there, and equally Major League Baseball, all this kind of stuff. That sounds an absolute brilliant. I'm sure we can fill an hour easily having a natter about all of that stuff.
Thank you. It's fun. I mean, some people call it work, like you call this. To me is not work. This is part of being on holiday.
No, that's great. I really love that sentiment, and you taking the time to join us now. But hey, listen, you know what? I'm with you on that one. It's not work. It's never work when I go to clinic. I get to go and hang out with lovely people and show some brilliant tricks, and then they thank me for it at the end and shake my hand and. So it's never work, is it? It's
no. This is 33 years in practice for me, and one of the things that I try and teach people is you have to find healthy distractions. Yeah, we all need to be distracted from the day-to-day grind of the clinic, otherwise you'll burn out. But I developed this term healthy distractions because it contributes back to work, contributes back to the clinic, keeps my skills fresh, and I'm standing on an NFL sideline, or I'm at a baseball game, or I'm at a basketball. I'm having fun.
Yeah.
But it's regenerating so I can get back to the clinic again.
Absolutely. And like you mentioned about your teaching and all of that, that's giving back to a profession in a big style as well.
Right.
So,
I can't tell you how rewarding it is to be able to share. I'm not the guy that's going to teach you, contact styloid process on the distal head of the innervated by the long thoracic. No, that's not me. I'm the hands-on, practical, how to get involved, how to stay involved. And, at the end of the day, sports chiropractic outside your office is not for everybody. And I think that's where we as a profession, at least in the States, fail, because people could be very good at what they do in their clinic, but they don't know how to communicate outside of their clinic. And FICS has done a great job of helping to educate people that get involved with FICS about that communication.
Absolutely. And that's been something that, we've been working towards, consciously over the last few years, trying to just create that ability for us to converse with other players in the multidisciplinary team looking after athletes. So that's been a big thing for us as well. Absolutely. I'm glad you pointed that out, actually. That's really helpful. But tell me a little bit, how did you get involved with American football and baseball in the first place? I'm sure there's a good story there.
There's always a story. Well, I've always been a football fan. Yeah. And I grew up always liking American football. And I came and I set up my practice in Maryland, and they had a football team. And after I started practicing, that team left and went to Indianapolis, another another city in the US. Then they got a football team again to come to Baltimore. And I wrote a very nice letter saying, I'm Alan Sokoloff, I'm a chiropractor. I did my rotation at the Olympic Training Center. I have this qualification, that qualification. And I got a letter back that said, well, our athletic trainers are trained in manipulation by the osteopaths that used to work with the team. So thank you, but no thank you.
Yeah.
And it was kind of disappointing for me at first. And then I started treating a lot more college athletes that were being treated by the team physicians from the Ravens. So I kind of got an introduction. They knew my background. And one day I got asked to come up and treat one player.
Yeah.
So I went up, I treated that player. They were very happy with the care I provided. And they gave me a nice shirt. I got a hat, not this one, but I got a hat. And then they said, send me a bill. And I gave the typical chiropractic answer, like, no, it's my pleasure. I'm so glad to be here. I'm happy to work with your professional athletes. Don't worry about it. And he turned to me and said, look, we're the NFL. We are not a charity. Send me a bill. Okay. So wait, I get a shirt, I get a hat, and I get to charge for what I do?
Yeah, and I get to see on a picture.
So then a week later, I came back and they gave me 2 cases. And then
Nice.
a week later, I got 4. And I slowly started to build up my relationship with the head athletic trainer, which is the most important one, especially here in the States. And I grew the trust of the other medical staff as well as the athletes. And
Yeah.
I was getting some kind of neat cases like extremity stuff that others weren't trained in.
Yeah.
And the other thing here in the States that has made sports chiropractic grow is the demand of the athletes. Every chiropractor in their hometown treats an athlete. That athlete may eventually get to the highest level, and they're demanding what got them there, which is chiropractic throughout. So that ultimately grew. Within a year, we made it to the Super Bowl. I had my first Super Bowl experience.
Nice.
And now we're at 21 years later, and I'm still here.
Awesome. Well, there you go. Talking about longevity in the sport, right?
Yes.
No,
And that's a funny concept. When you're with a team that long, you see people that come to the team and they go on to other careers. So I don't know whether it's a good thing that I'm still here or maybe I should have moved on, but I'm still loving it.
I think it's just a thing. You know, you just can't really put a negative, positive label on it. It's beyond that. It's just a thing.
Yeah.
It's just something you do because you love it. You enjoy it.
And it's a really good thing too, because it does a lot for me. It allows me to do what I'm doing with you and speak from being in it, not having done it 30 years ago. I'm doing it now. So I can share stories of what was in the past and what's going on now in the different leagues. So I'm able to educate. And that's what we talked about earlier. I love, especially in the States, I've been to most of the chiropractic schools trying to get these kids to realize there's no better time to be a sports chiropractor than now.
Absolutely.
And same thing, I got to visit your alma mater and spent some time there teaching a little bit as well. When the Ravens came over and we played a game in London, which didn't have a great outcome, but
amazing.
Love that.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's one of the themes that has definitely come up in these little chats I've been having with various different people is that, you know, sports chiropractic is a way of getting to see the world and travel and kind of experience all these cool things that you won't see if you're just stuck in your little cubicle in your clinic, you know, 24/7.
No. And it's been fun. And recently, I guess maybe in the last 4 to 6 years, I've been privileged to experience it more internationally. 2 years ago, I had the chance to go speak in Mexico, and they invited American football team doctors as well as soccer team doctors to a symposium they were having. And the medical staff just didn't understand, how does a chiropractor fit into this whole thing? So that's what we were able to do, was become more involved with that organization, with that team. And once they see how we fit, then then they know we're not a threat. We're not some rogue guys that are doing some wild things. We're doing what we do that is essential for treating and helping athletes not only get better from an injury, but they're starting to understand the benefits of the performance enhancement aspect.
Right. And I would say, also injury prevention.
Yes.
To a massive degree, of course, those two go hand in hand, injury prevention and performance. You can't have one without the other, really.
Right.
So I recently completed the FIFA football medicine course. It's an online thing. It was actually, really nicely put together course. But it was so evident it was written by the medics for the medics. I think the word manipulation was mentioned twice in the whole thing. You have a big module of lumbar spine, or cervical spine or whatever, and it didn't mention it once.
Right.
So, there is that element of, okay, who's writing these courses? And I mean, for me, it was really handy, because now I picked up a lot of the vocabulary, and there are thought processes that go in that realm as it goes. So I would say that I'm more comfortable and confident in talking to those people now, having taken the course.
Right. And what you just said is perfect. And I think we as a profession need to learn to understand language. And you taking the time to learn their language puts you far and above somebody who may be a better adjuster than you. They may be a better diagnostician. I know there's people that could adjust better than me, that may be able to diagnose better. They may be able, but they don't have the ability to communicate because they don't take the time to learn. So I give you, it's like number 2 on my list of things that you need to do is that communication. So perfect.
That's right. So what's number 1?
My number 1 is leave your ego at the door.
Good one.
When you work in sports chiropractic, if you think you're all that and you can handle this and you can handle that, you're never going to make it. There was an American football team here that went through 5 chiropractors in 4 years. So does that mean chiropractic doesn't work? Or does that mean maybe they don't speak the right language and don't have the ability to communicate? And they didn't check their ego at the door. People don't understand, those athletes at a professional or a university or even high-end club levels, they're not your patients. You are a tool. You are something that the head person, whether it's a physician, whether it's an athletic trainer, whether it's a physio, that person's in charge, and you are a part of a team as a tool to help fix that person.
Absolutely right. And that's, I think, that's where the chiropractic ego gets in the way so often.
Right.
I wouldn't call him a friend of mine per se, but a person I know who went to work with a club. They got a bit of a contract to go and work with this club, football club, European football, soccer, and they kind of straight away as they walked in, pretty much told everybody to, piss off and leave him to it. And I think he didn't survive that first shift.
Right.
But it's the chiropractic ego. A lot of us, unfortunately, are still in that position where we think we just are all that and we know all of that, and nobody else.
And it's the chiropractic school's fault. They do a great job of teaching us to be the king of our office. So we could do everything and run our office from the time a person comes in to the time they leave. And that is our domain. So can you imagine that physio coming into your office and dictating how you should run your office? That's not their house. That's your house. They can't be coming in doing that. So we as chiropractors can't be going in and upsetting somebody in their house.
Do you know what, man? That sounds very much like just common courtesy, doesn't it?
I try to make it simple.
Well, you know, it's uncanny how much like common courtesy that does sound like. You know,
Yeah.
I mean, you know, you don't need to have a rocket science degree or anything like that to come up, you know, to realize that just be a nice guy, right? You know, that
Right.
that goes a long way.
Common courtesy.
You know, just leave, like you said, so nicely, leave your ego at the door. I think that's a perfect way of describing it. Absolutely.
Yep.
Cool, man.
So, and then again, the communication thing is very important. And speaking the same language. In chiropractic school, we at least in the States, we learn listings and terminology that, you know, atlas, rotated, right, PI, ilium. We learn all this mumbo jumbo that you may understand and I may understand, but the athletic trainer doesn't care about that. There was an SI segmental dysfunction. I understand the word dysfunction. I don't understand some of the other. So learning their language and being able to speak that way and communicate it. Everything that I do, every athlete that I work with, there is a documented note of what I did. Because if you don't think these multi-million-dollar athletes would turn around if you did something that maybe you shouldn't have done, that they're not going to come after you, you have to document. But more importantly, the documentation is for, like, for example, with the Ravens, there's another chiropractor that I work with. His name is David Ballinger. So when I'm not there and David's there, he has to know what I did. So he could look. The athletic trainer needs to look and see what I did. The head team physician there may be an issue with somebody's lower back, and he wants to find out exactly what did we do, what did the chiropractor do, and that's exactly what we do. That's
right, absolutely. And I mean, that's again, you know, just keeping with the letter of the law. You know, you here in the UK, definitely you have to record everything you do to a patient or athlete, whatever you want to call them. But, you know, and to me, it just makes blatantly good sense.
Yep.
You know, you see, even if you treat 100 patients a week, I mean, come on, you're not going to remember what you did to every single one of them next week when they come back again.
So in a professional football game, at a game, if the game starts at 1 o'clock, I get there at 9 o'clock in the morning. And one of my important rules are you need to take care of yourself. Because if you don't take care of number one, you can't take care of number one. Meaning that if you don't take care of yourself, you can't take care of your family. You can't earn an income. You can't treat your patients. You can't, there's a lot of things you can't do unless you take care of yourself. So when I get to a game, for the first 30 minutes, I warm up my body. I do certain exercises. I'll go for a lap around the field. I love to foam roll. I'll do some band work. Now I'm ready to work. So before a game, there's only 55 players on a team. I will adjust between 30 and 35 athletes before a game. So by the time the game starts, I'm exhausted. They're all psyched up, ready to play. And then I may see a couple people at halftime. I may see a couple on the sideline. And if you win, then you usually don't see anybody after a game. But if you lose, everything hurts more, so you end up working more. But most of the stuff that I do game day and seeing that volume of people, I still document every single player that I touch.
No, you'd have to do it, absolutely.
Yeah.
So how does that work touchline? I mean, I know how touchline works at rugby and soccer and all of that, but how does that work in American football then? Have you got your bench set up there specifically in a place or how?
Well, that's interesting, and it's different from team to team. One of the things that I teach, I have a Sweet 16 of list. You know, number one's leave your ego at the door. I have a Sweet 16 list, and one of them is, you know, chiropractors kind of have to be chameleons. We have to be able to adapt to wherever we are, and you may not know what you have and what you don't have. So in the NFL, I think there's only 1 or 2 teams that actually have an adjusting table. Now we have these pop-up tents over a big exam table, or you try and do your work right out on the field, on the grass, on the turf. You have to be able to adapt your technique to whatever surroundings that you're in.
Oh, absolutely. It's very much like well, I mean, most sport I suppose is the same. You just make do with what you got. And there's a particular time I remember I was still in uni actually at the time. So we were doing this. We had a university golf club. So we played the club championships one spring, and don't know what, can't remember exactly what happens, but all of a sudden my right sacroiliac just completely seized up, and I could barely even hold a stick, let alone swing a stick, that kind of thing. And so I was paired up with one of the final year interns, and he says, right, all right, lie down the side, right on the tee box, there's this little tiny bit of elevation there, and side pushing me there. And you know what? It just did the trick. I thought, from that moment on, I thought, yeah, that's how I want to play.
Absolutely.
Because there's, like you said, all we really need is these two.
Yeah, and it's funny. One of the questions I get asked all the time is, what technique? What do I need to learn to be a sports chiropractor? And you just gave it right there. You need to use their hands. You need to learn. Is it when you go to chiropractic school, you're given a tool belt, and that tool belt is empty, and you may pick a screwdriver here, a hammer there, a saw, and then you take all these tools and now you go out to work.
That's right.
But at the end of the day, the athletic trainers or the physios or the people that are running the medical staffs are basically doing the same thing. They're basically doing the same. I told you we could be interrupted at any time. They're basically, do you need something? Oh, hang on. So I'll fill you in. Anyway, so I don't even know where I was.
So you're saying about the physios and whoever runs the show.
Right. So they're doing the same thing too. They have to look out for the health and well-being of the athletes.
That's right.
So if the athlete needs a screwdriver and you happen to be that screwdriver, then you're going to be able to help. The athletic trainer or the physio has all the other things. You don't have to do that thing. You do what you are good at. So in chiropractic school, you may learn extremity adjusting. You may learn a soft tissue technique. You may learn an instrument-assisted technique. You may learn dry needling. But all of those things, and a lot of those things can be done by anybody and everybody, but there is no other profession that does what we do with spinal manipulation or an adjustment.
That's right.
Sure, I could tape an ankle, but why would I do that when someone that's done it a million times could do it?
Yeah.
And in some circumstances, there are unqualified people doing spinal manipulation or an adjustment that they would be better served by you doing it.
Yeah.
So if the head team physicians, if the teams that we work with understand, I'm going to stay in my box because this is what I do, but I'm going to also let them know what else I do in case you need this. I also do dry needling. I also do instrument assisted stuff. I also have a soft tissue technique, but nothing can get you in and keep you involved with a team than being a good adjuster.
Absolutely. And that's something that, I think a lot of chiropractors, dare I say, forgetting, but to a degree that it seems to be, I don't know if that's the same case in the States, but here in the UK, it seems to be a bit like the art of adjusting and actually delivering a good, solid adjustment that is slightly dwindling. I mean, we always employ associates in our clinic. Oftentimes we take on new grads and things, and they stay for a year or two, and we try and train them up as best as we can. But I don't know. I've just found that over the course of last 5-10 years, the quality of adjusting as they come out of university seems to be, there's just less emphasis on it maybe in the uni. So they're looking for soft tissue and those kind of things.
Yeah, everybody's looking for a different magic bullet, but at the end of the day, we stick to what you know. I have a friend of mine that says you have to be like a ninja adjuster, or like whatever, Yoda, the master, adjuster. That's and if you can do that, and that's what they're looking for, then you're going to be it. Look, I work in a lot of different levels of sports, where at one of the universities I work with, I adjust. I do soft tissue stuff. I do dry needling. With the Baltimore Ravens, I primarily do adjusting, but I also do a lot of instrument assisted stuff. When we get shorthanded, I may do some dry needling. So it's communicating what you do and demonstrating what you do best, so that whoever's in charge can use your skills the way they need to be used.
No, absolutely right, and that's something that is very, very important to remember. Now, obviously, when you're talking about different techniques and that, of course, a lot of the new grads, especially, they seem to be very hung up on is it diversified, or is it Gonstead, or is it SOT, or whatever technique. And I mean, when I get asked that question, what technique do I use? I say I just use hybrid. I just use mixed match of everything.
Right.
You go to all these different seminars, you learn bits and bobs here and there. You think, all right, that's absolute rubbish. They're never going to use that. But actually, that thing, those are useful. They'll come in handy at some point. And then next thing you know, a couple of years down the line, in Bob's a patient who you go, yeah, that thing I thought was absolutely rubbish actually comes in real handy right now.
Right. So I am the current president of the Professional Football Chiropractic Society. So each year we have a symposium with all the chiropractors in the NFL. And a lot of times we learn from each other. But you see somebody do something one way, or you pick something up at this seminar and something at that, and then you mix it in. I think it was 2014, I spoke at the ECU, and I did in Dublin, and then they asked me to teach a hands-on class, and I'm like, well, wait a minute, I don't do that. I don't teach technique. And someone said, Alan, think of the things that you do every day to players and why you do them, that may not have been as pure as you learned them in school 20 or 30 years ago. So you're exactly right. We learn these things in school, and then we bend them and mold them to what fits us and what we are comfortable with. And then we provide that quality care to the athlete.
So you become a Picasso, isn't it?
Yes. And we're all different. And you know what? There's Picassos and there's all different artists out there. It doesn't mean one is better than the other. Different. There are. I'll give you another example in the National Football League.
Yeah, please.
We've seen, if a physio changes or a head athletic trainer changes, I want a chiropractor that does soft tissue. So the adjusting chiropractor, you're gone. I'm going to bring in someone that does soft tissue. So it can change. It doesn't mean you're good or bad. Whoever is running the show will dictate what they want to be as part.
That's right. And I suppose, therein lies the conundrum. You as me as a chiropractor, we shouldn't take that personally.
No.
It's not personal. It's, the head honcho, whoever is the chief, they will choose their own toolbox and whatever the tools they want to put in their toolbox. So, it's not to do with Alan, or it's not to do with Mika, or Tom, Dick, and Harry. It's mainly, okay, what does that guy want for his team, right?
Right. Very much so. And that's part of leaving your ego at the door. I learned early on, and I'm thankful. This is 21 years with the Ravens, and I've been through 2 owner changes. three head athletic trainers, 2 head coaches. And when any of that changes, you could come and go. Nothing personal, but people like to bring in their own people.
That's right.
So you can't take it personally, and you have to move on. Either you move on, you get involved with another team or another sport, or maybe you take a break for a while.
Yeah, exactly. And that's the kind of thing, isn't it? Human life is cyclical in many different ways, and you know, where one door closes, another one potentially opens, or whatever is the right thing for you at that given time, you know. So
well, I believe that sports chiropractors, and you start to say one door closes, another opens. We have the ability, sports chiropractors create opportunities. And for those people that sit back and say, yeah, opportunity is going to come to me, they're still sitting back waiting. But sports chiropractors have this, dare I use the word, innate ability to get involved and want to be involved. So we being able to do that, chiropractors we put ourselves far and above a lot of other healthcare professionals.
yeah, absolutely. It is a certain characteristic that I think most of us do share. You know,
Yes.
It becomes quite evident when you go to sports chiropractic seminars or symposia or big conferences. You know, you see the sports chiro crew in one side, and they are all sort of kind of doing the same thing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but then you see there's like the standard chiropractors who are kind of milling around the other side of the room doing their own thing, and there's a different vibe. If you see what I mean?
And it's not that one thing is wrong and one thing's right.
No, it's just different.
It's different. And we try to treat and teach our patients just in the office every day, you know, that come in and they say, well, I've been to a chiropractor, this isn't going to help. I'm like, then leave. Why are you here if you don't think it's going to help? Or you can listen to how we're going to treat you, which is different than somebody else.
That's right.
And you know what? We're not the know-all, tell-all bomb of offices. However, if we don't get you better, we may recommend a different type of chiropractor. Fortunately, in my office, there's 4 of us that practice some different techniques, and we can inter-refer, which makes it easier on the patient.
No, amazing. That's really good to have. Good to have a wide pool of talent in you know, under one roof. That's great.
Very much so.
Absolutely. So what's the kind of typical, I suppose, you know what, American football, you know, you'll get all sorts of injuries, really. You probably get the cuts and bruises, well, less cuts maybe, but bruises, lots of those, impact, contusions, whatnot, probably the odd sprain. But what's your kind of mainstay? What do you treat when it comes to?
I would say probably a majority of the cases are low back related. I mean, you're dealing with many athletes that are 300 pounds plus.
Yeah.
And you're dealing with other athletes that end up meeting 300-pound athletes
At speed.
It's a collision sport. Look, I love rugby. I played rugby at Palmer. I wish there was more of it here. But in football, it's a different type of collision that occurs, because when people are wearing a uniform, when people are wearing pads, when they're wearing a helmet, they feel like they're indestructible.
Yeah.
Because they have that suit of armor on.
Yeah.
And then sometimes the collisions could be a little more violent.
Yeah.
So a lot of lower back stuff. You know, then you have to think about, we're dealing with people that have to wear 8 to 10 to 12 pounds on their head. And now you're colliding, and there's all types of movement. So I would say number one's probably low back / hip.
Mm-hmm.
And then if you can clean up any of the compensation that goes with that, wonderful.
Yeah.
And being able to combine some soft tissue skills along with that to restore function from a musculoskeletal standpoint, it can be so beneficial.
Yeah.
We don't, from the professional football standpoint, from the university standpoint, we're not the ones that are going through the rehab with the patient and with the athlete and progressing them through these exercises and do. That's left for our PTs, our physios.
Yeah, yeah.
But being able to analyze, communicate what we think the issue is, help fix, not solely do it yourself, restore function, and then allow the soft tissues to heal around it, especially low back and spinal conditions. Look, it's job security in the NFL. They're not going to stop hitting each other. That's going to happen. And it should be job security in anything, in soccer.
Yeah.
If you have the ability to make somebody that much faster, you have the ability to open up someone's stride that much more. You have the ability to help someone jump that much higher.
That's right.
It's a game of inches, and if you can gain an inch one way, that to me proves your worth. I mentioned when I went to Mexico and I did this talk, I was able to get 5 doctors' jobs working with teams. 3 of them were with American football teams, 2 with soccer teams down there.
Amazing.
And we still keep in touch, and it's so great to be able to share that, open the eyes of whoever's running the show that you're not a threat, but you're a team member.
No, exactly right. Absolutely. So your other big thing is baseball, obviously. Now, in baseball, of course, my sort of thinking is elbow, shoulder injuries.
Right. So and your thinking is right. And 90% of those are dealt with by the athletic trainer. I'm very fortunate to work with an athletic trainer that knows what my skills are, that, okay, let's check out the kinetic chain. Do what you can, see what's going on in the cervical and thoracic spine. Do what you can to help with scapular mobility. Do what you can soft tissue wise with the elbow and the shoulder, and then he'll take it from there. So it's that communication and trust. It's trust. That athletic trainer trusts me with that $1 million athlete to make sure things are good, and then communicate, hey, you know what? I found X, Y, and Z with the shoulder, that if we add a little of ABC to the rehabilitation, that may aid in getting that athlete better.
Absolutely. Cool. So, I mean, I was having a conversation with somebody recently about sort of biomechanics of baseball pitcher as they throw the ball, call it a fastball or curveball. I don't know. One of those
I mean,
I don't know what the difference is, but one goes fast and the other curves, I suppose. But the point is, so this chap was talking about, it's a European club where this fella is the pitcher, and so he had a very persistent elbow problem. So when they started tracking down the injury, how far, where is it actually coming from? And it turns out that it was something like an ankle problem that was causing him to plant his foot incorrectly, which then compromised the whole biomechanical chain, running up through the knee and a hip and a back and a shoulder blade and into finally blowing up his elbow. So is that something that you would get involved with, or is your mandate more, okay, here comes the athletic trainer, he goes, right, sort out the guy's elbow and the shoulder and a little bit of collarbone?
Yeah, I would say it's in our wheelhouse, but because we're not there with that pitcher every day, we might not pick that up. But I have the ability to say to the head athletic trainer, do you have any stubborn cases that are just sticking around? Let's just talk about them. Yeah. And if there's something that I think I can help with, then I'll say, hey, do you mind if I look at that? Yeah. And the pitching motion is very interesting. I took, way back when, there's a Dr. John Danchek, who was very actively involved in FICS, and he taught me when I took my CCSP and my diplomat years ago, that he made us watch a little league pitcher, a college pitcher, and a professional baseball pitcher throw the ball, and the mechanics and where everything comes from to generate velocity on the ball.
Yeah, yeah.
And understanding that kinetic chain opened my eyes to, well, maybe it is the ankle. You know, if it's shoulder hurts, it's not just the shoulder. You know, you have to be able to look at everything.
That's right. No, I mean, that's something that, you know, you and me both, we know this, you know, like the back of our hands, I'm sure. But, you know, even in clinic, when you see, Jimmy, who is 45 years old, he's an accountant, he's run, you know, started to start running, and he comes in complaining with pain somewhere. You know, it's pretty certain that that's not where the injury actually lies.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
Not. It comes from somewhere else.
So I was talking about this earlier, as we mentioned before. I'm here with my family. It was actually my daughter came in to get the credit card to go buy some food. Anyway, so she, my youngest daughter is a soccer player, very high-end soccer player here, and hopefully going on to the university in 2 years.
Oh, wow.
And play at that level. But I've had the opportunity, because I have worked on her. And let me tell you something. I know your kids are young, but as they become more involved in athletics, they won't realize how cool a dad you are until they see their kids, their teammates getting injured and not recovering. A simple ankle sprain. Why is Adrian out for 8 weeks and you were able to get back in 3 or 4?
Yeah.
So we just talked about this earlier, how so many of the kids, and this is where this is the root of sports chiropractic. We need to do a better job of education, of educating coaches, of educating parents that, you know, if you have an ankle injury, well, you can't just look at the ankle. And if you're having persistent ankle injuries, well, then definitely don't look at the ankle. There's got to be something else going on. And just on her team alone, how many kids I've been fortunate enough to treat and help and not develop chronic injuries going into college. And one of her coaches said to her, and I think this set up a little light bulb in her head. I hope she doesn't watch this later, but set up a light bulb in her head when the college coach said, wow, I wish I had someone like your dad at my university when I played back then, because I know I could have gotten to the next level.
There you go.
We are so important for everybody that we touch, for everybody that we treat. Doesn't matter what the age is, because you don't know where they're going to go from you. It's just, I love to watch her play. I love to watch her mechanics. And I love to watch her play with her teammates, especially the ones that stay healthy. Absolutely. And the ones that don't, they eventually come to see me anyway.
Yeah. Well, there you go. In the end, that's what all roads lead to Dr. Sock's office, right?
That's it.
But you know, talking about kids and that, I mean, there's a particular moment that happened when my eldest daughter, she must have been 2 or something, you know, and at that point in time, I was busting my nuts working 2 clinics and doing all sorts and barely able to kind of like take a breather, you know, and I wasn't training, I wasn't particularly fit or healthy at the time. And so I come home from work one afternoon and she goes, "Daddy, run." You know, like they do at that age. So then I'm chasing her around the house, you know, my last breath, you know, that kind of thing. And so she pulls a real quick one and kind of darts left, you know, behind the sofa, crawls around there, you know, then kind of I go to intercept. So she just leaps over the side of the sofa and kind of rolls and jumps off the sofa and runs off the other direction. So at that point, I'm standing there going, I realized that if I tried that, I would end up in hospital.
Yeah.
And it happened like within, I don't know, 7 or 8 seconds, this whole sequence played out. And I was standing there just literally going like, holy moly, what just happened? You know, how can she do that and I can't? So you know, there was my sort of, call it awakening, if you like. But all of a sudden I realized that, man, if I want to keep up with my kids, I'm going to have to get into shape like right now.
Right.
I'm gonna
So
go-
in order, and if your kids are number one in your life, in order to take care of number one, you got to take care of number one.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't get, especially in sports chiropractic, the physical demands on your body. I mean, what's the average length of a chiropractor's career due to injury? It's not very. It's like 7, 8, maybe 9 years. That's it. So if you don't take care of, yes, it's horrible.
Wow.
But that number is not just because of health reasons. There may be, closing. You may go out of business. You may start another career. You may do, but a big chunk of that is a chiropractor's health. I don't even think in the States you can't get a disability policy as a chiropractor because we put ourselves at risk. I tried to think about this a couple times. How many adjustments have I provided in my lifetime? And I stopped trying to figure that out. But it's the repetitive stress, just like the athletes that we treat. And if you don't take care of yourself and stuff starts to break down, the recovery is hard.
No, absolutely. Hey, come on, man. It's the same. I'm sure you tell this to your patients. They're the same as I, but you get your average builder coming into your clinic, who's working 12, 13 hours a day. I mean, they work harder. Their work or training load is a lot higher than your pro athletes.
Yes.
These builders, they don't have the luxury of making the big bucks and hence having staff to look after their needs and cook their meals and take the dog for a walk and whatever. But they actually have to lead a life.
Right.
And then they pick up an injury. And, therein lies the conundrum. All of a sudden they can't work and do all this. And I mean, you and me, we're exactly the same. If we're in that boat, unfortunately, we're not on the professional athlete scale.
Right. So I will tell my patients exactly what you mentioned. I said, look, you don't have a professional staff around you. You have me.
That's
so
right.
We need to figure out what can we do collectively, meaning you and I, what can we do to help get you better? Just like I'm not going to tell you don't go to work because you have to work and you work construction and it's very hard. Just like I can't tell the professional football player, don't hit anybody. That's his job.
That's right.
But he just doesn't go to work and hit people. He trains all week long. Now, you may be working very long hours, but you've got to find some time to train. And
That's
you have
right.
to find some time to, at the end of the day, to cool down. And you have to put the right things in your body to get the better output from your body. That's so, right. Having that mentality of treating my patients in the clinic, just like the professional athletes, I think that's appreciated by the patients as well.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, come on, man, there is no difference really. I mean, no person is better than another just based on their job description, I would say.
No.
So it's something that also has come up with these chats a few times. People, they say that once you start stepping into the the sports chiropractic game and you start appreciating the dedication and the passion those people have in there, what they're trying to achieve, and so that's very infectious towards us. So we pick up that same kind of I'm looking for the word here. But we pick up the kind of same habitus in our own selves.
Right.
We transfer to our non-athletic patients as well, to a degree. And it's great. You get to use the same techniques.
And that's it. You showed me your hands before. Those hands are the same ones that touch your patients, that may touch a professional athlete. It's the same hands. And when patients know that, they should, hopefully, if you can communicate it to them, get that same feeling of comfort that your athletes get.
No, absolutely right. Absolutely right. And then again, it comes back to the communication. What you tell your patients and how you convey the message so that they can understand, what you're trying to actually achieve. And hopefully you find a common ground there. They are in agreement and you will have a good relationship and fruitful relationship in terms of them getting better and you feeling damn good about yourself.
Right. And you need that too. But
Yeah.
along those lines, you know, sometimes chiropractors will work with a professional athlete and they'll have a great game. They make a spectacular catch or a wonderful goal. And you're like, yeah, that was my adjustment. I helped do that. If you're going to take all those accolades,
Yeah.
when the bad things happen or the poop hits the fan and they get injured or they don't make that play, just remember you're part of that team too. It's not all the positive stuff.
Absolutely right. But you know, what's your sort of what would be your top 3 clinical pearls? You know, I always like to ask these questions from people purely because you know you have lots of experience. What are your kind of top 3 things that maybe sports chiropractors don't see or miss or whatnot? What are your 3 things you want to pass on? You know, going outside what we already discussed.
Yeah. So I'll tell you my number 1.
Go on.
And if we get to the other 2, then we get to the other 2. So my number 1 is everything you do makes a difference, one way or another. We were getting ready to play the Super Bowl in 2012. And we had a very famous linebacker that played for our team. And I was working with him all week and everything was going well. Everything's going great. And the last day, Sunday morning, and the game is Sunday night, Sunday morning, they took my table away because they brought it to the stadium where the game was going to be. And I had to adjust on a different level table. And I adjusted, and this athlete got up and he said, "All right, Al, I'll see you later." I'm like, well, wait a minute. Why are you moving? What's wrong? You're not. He said, well, I kind of still have this thing back here. I'm like, well, why didn't you say something? So I put a sheet down on the ground. We're still at the team hotel. And I sat him down. I was going to do an anterior thoracic. And because he was such an important player, everybody stopped doing what they were doing, and everyone around me was started to stare. And you know how you can feel eyes looking at you.
Yeah.
So, and I was used to that. It didn't bother me. I've adjusted people in front of 70,000 in the stadium. So I lay him down and adjust him, and all of a sudden it goes boom. And then so everybody stopped and stared. Like, and he gets up and he goes, "Oh my God. Oh my God." So that pain is gone. And everyone's like, oh. So for me, I like tapped him on the back, said, "Yeah, I know. Go get some rest. I'll see you at the stadium before the game."
Yeah.
So the game goes on. We end up winning. We are at a post-game Super Bowl party. It had to be 3 or 4 in the morning. And I run into this athlete. And he like waves me over. He's got his entourage around. There's like people everywhere. And he called me over and he hugged me like it looked like what felt like hours was only seconds. And he said to me, "Thank you. Thank you for that adjustment that morning." Because I couldn't think about playing in pain. And I'm like, wait, you remember that? You just won a Super Bowl. You just did all this stuff, and you remember an adjustment from this morning?
Amazing.
So that taught me it doesn't matter who you touch. It doesn't matter what technique you're using. It doesn't matter where you are. That everybody you come in contact with, you have an effect on them that they will remember.
Absolutely.
And hopefully it's a good experience.
I think that's very much along the lines of, I don't know who said this, you know, some famous person, I'm sure, but they said that, you know, people may forget what you said, but they will forever remember how you made them feel.
Exactly. Right on.
Exactly right.
Right on.
No, good. So, hey, that's a really cool story. Actually, I love that, and I'm sure people who are watching, they're tingly all over with that one.
I love stories. I started writing them down because you get a little older, you get a little less hair up top, turns a little gray, you start forgetting stuff. So I've been writing them down. I have been very fortunate and blessed with the sports chiropractic life that I have.
Yeah.
And I have a very close sports chiropractor friend, and we talk about this all the time. Being a good sports chiropractor, is it luck or is it persistence? And it's a little of both. You have to sometimes be in the right place at the right time. But if you don't have that good clarity of being persistent in a clear message, then no one will hear you. You could sit in your office all day long and say, hey, I'm the best chiropractor there is.
Yeah.
And no one's going to call you.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, you've got to be you. You got to let people know what you do.
That's right.
And if you want to be a sports chiropractor, you have to have that ability to listen.
Absolutely. And you know what? I think kind of going slightly on a tangent perhaps there, but a lot of people, chiropractors included, they don't quite know what they want. You know, in all honesty, they get to a point where they kind of feel like, okay, maybe I'm not kind of fulfilling my potential here, stuck in clinic doing all this stuff. Maybe I want something different, but they can't really articulate it clearly. Maybe they never really just thought about it. And, you know, that was one thing that personally I found extremely useful, you know, just actually visualizing what exactly I want. And once you know what you want, it's damn sight easier to get it.
Absolutely. I have always wanted to be involved in the NFL. And I moved to a city that didn't even have a team, but I knew that's what I wanted. So I did the Olympic training. I did the college stuff. I got involved in baseball. I got involved in competitive aerobics. You've got to plant seeds in sports and try them. And then if that's what you want to do, then that's what you go after. One other point I want to leave. Chiropractors are notorious, and I guess it's true in other professions too, where they're notorious for wanting something that they don't have that somebody else has. My head athletic trainer shows me letters all the time from other chiropractors that say, Alan shouldn't be your chiropractor. I should be because blah, blah, blah. For those who are out there, if you offer something different, if you offer something that could be an adjunct to what that other team chiropractor is doing, then pursue it. But don't go after somebody's, you know, we don't need to be undercutting each other. We need to be pumping each other up. There are enough teams. There are enough athletes. There are enough kids. There are enough people for all of us to thrive. And that's why there's no better time than now to be a sports chiropractor.
And that's something, you know, this happened a couple of years ago, you know, in my little town where I practice, you know, there's a sort of physio osteopathic clinic opened up on High Street. And a few of my patients were coming in, and have you seen, you know, are you worried about competition? I said, what competition? You know, there's no competition.
Right.
I mean, there's clinics dotted everywhere. There's chiropractic clinics, you know, within 5 mile radius, we've got like 10 clinics. You know, I'm in no competition with any one of them.
Right.
There's loads of people. You know, and the more sensible, good chiropractors I have around me, the better our reputation collectively will be, and the stronger the profession and more people have trust in us, and boom, there it goes.
Right. Absolutely. Good. You know what? Tomorrow, go to a park. Go to where there's a bunch of fields and look around. How many people that are playing soccer or just going for a jog or a trot? How many of those people are your patients? Well, probably not many, but they need to be.
Yeah. No, that's it. And I mean, that's the FICS motto as well, isn't it? You know, bringing sports chiropractic to all athletes. All athletes deserve access to sports chiropractic, and it's a damn big goal, and we need a hell of a lot more boots on the ground to cover that.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's why we need the kids, we need the docs, we need everybody to be on board and rock this show. You know, that's what we need.
Sounds great. Well, I'm gonna offer you an open invitation. If you're ever coming to the States, please call. I'd love to show you some of the things that we do.
That'd be amazing.
And I would love to come back to London, and we'll do an exchange there too.
Yeah, we'll try and come up with a cunning plan. You know, a real good sort of way of getting more exposure in this way. That'd be awesome. Absolutely.
Yep. And whatever I can help you or FICS, you know, get this message out, get more people involved, get the students involved. Yeah, at a young age, like you had said earlier, bridging this gap, it's only going to help the profession.
Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And you know what? That is a very good place to start wrapping it all up. We have we're pretty much bang on time, actually. You know what? That's can't be more precise than that.
That's what we do.
Than that. Absolutely. Well, hey, listen, Alan, it's been an absolute pleasure to have a chat with you this evening. It's absolutely, you know, listening to you go on and talk about this stuff with such wealth of knowledge and experience. You know what? I'm humbled to have you on the show, and very fortunate indeed. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you very much for your patience. Thank you for your time, and looking forward to helping in any way I can.
That's amazing. Wonderful. And listen, you know what? For all those people watching and listening to us waffle on about talking shop and having a grand old time, you know, do check out the other stuff on FICS website as well. There are a whole heap of all sorts of now educational materials, webinars. Of course, the flagship ICSC program is available with a bit of a discount thrown at the moment. So hopefully that'll be a little bit more interesting again for students who may struggle to cough up the full price at the moment. So do take advantage of all these offers, and all the short courses are out there as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to wrap up. Thank you once again, Alan, and we shall look forward to seeing you next week.
Stay healthy.
Indeed.